Welcome to our audience with Siklu. This conversation is part of the Lance Hiley report on small cell backhaul that looks at the current state-of-the-art of small cell backhaul solutions available from different vendors and on the evolution of mobile operators' requirements for small cell backhaul. My name is Lance Hiley and I'm here on behalf of Lance Hiley. Today we're talking to Shahar Peleg, Director of Product Management at Siklu, a company that is pioneering cost-effective, high-capacity, point-to-point microwave wireless backhaul solutions operating in the E as in Echo and V as in Victor bands that are particularly well-suited for small cell deployments. Shahar, how would you say your product is fitting into the small cell backhaul space?
Well, Siklu makes gigabit wireless backhaul solutions which operate in the 60, 70, and 80 gigahertz millimeter wave bands, which are also called, as you mentioned, the V band and the E band. We develop advanced all-silicon design that reduces the price and increases the reliability of these products. We've sold over 7,000 units to date, making us the leader in millimeter wave backhaul. Our systems are fuel-proven in all sorts of weather conditions around the world, from the monsoons in India, the cold weather of Russia, and we've had even a few units operating solidly in Hurricane Sandy. Millimeter waves, the E-band and V-band, will play a significant role in small cell backhaul, providing high-capacity backhaul solutions for small cells and the macro cell network.
Well, that's good. Well, it certainly sounds like weather and environment is not going to affect your product, but where would you say you are targeting in terms of small cell positioning or backhaul positioning? Would you say that you have a solution that's well suited for rural or for metro? What market segment are you trying to address with your product?
I think the most interesting thing that we're doing in the small cell ecosystem, of course, we're focusing on the backhaul. We've adopted our all-silicon technology, making it suitable for the street side, urban deployment or the mass deployment of the small cells themselves. We've developed a palm-sized point-to-point gigabit wireless radio that operates in the 60 gigahertz band, as you mentioned, called the V band, just for that purpose. Let me tell you why I think this is interesting. Well, small cell backhaul is going to be completely different than the existing mobile backhaul network as we know it today. The small cells are going to be deployed at the street level, so of course the backhaul will be too as well. Deployment at the street level has to be extremely easy, extremely quick. Physical installation needs to be quick because of the limited access that the installer will have to the street furniture where the backhaul will be installed. Also, because of the sheer number of small cells expected to be deployed, the installation needs to be simple enough to be done by non-telco professionals, while the commissioning needs to be done automatically from a centralized location. All this and more makes the focus on the small cell backhaul challenge very interesting, where creativity plays an important role.
So you haven't, that's good in terms of positioning. You sounds like you have a good understanding of all the different requirements that operators are looking for small cell backhaul. What would you say is your technological advantage over other solutions in the line of sight wireless backhaul category?
Well, first of all, we think that the bulk of the small cell backhaul will be done in the 60 gigahertz V band. First of all, because 60 gigahertz offers an abundant or a large chunk of spectrum which supports high capacity, even multi-gigabit capacities that will be required for small cells. On top of that, the 60 gigahertz frequency band has unique propagation characteristics that on one hand support or provide the required distances for the small cell backhaul itself. In addition to that, it's also immune to interference, which is specifically or especially important for the deployment in the street canyons, like the small cell backhaul will be installed. In addition to all this, operators get a high spectral reuse. So the band is also unlicensed, which allows even greater freedom when coming to choose the location for the installation of the backhaul. It also gives you flexibility in choosing the location, and even on-site or field flexibility, not requiring long, time-consuming and bureaucratic coordination processes. On the other hand, or from the vendor perspective, it allows us to design equipment, particularly or specifically an antenna, which is very small, which allows the simple installation we just mentioned, and also copes with the street level challenges such as the pole sway, tilt, and movement of the poles themselves.
Okay, well, one of the main reasons operators look to line of sight, and specifically point-to-point line of sight technology when they're designing their backhaul networks and their backhaul strategy, is they're looking for capacity. You know, traditionally, point-to-point is delivered more in the way of capacity, more in the way of performance. How does your product fit into that spectrum against the other point-to-point solutions that are operating perhaps at lower frequencies?
Yeah. First of all, let me mention that we see that, or we expect, like in many cases in life, there isn't one single technology that will be used. It will always be a mix. Where fiber will exist and will be available, fiber will be used for small cells backhaul as well. 60 gigahertz, specifically our equipment, provides very high capacity of gigabit per second capacities, and could be expanded to multi-gigabit per second capacities. In the street canyons or in the small cell deployments, it will be very hard for the operators to stick to the traditional hub and spoke topology, as it will be very hard to have line of sight to each and every small cells from a centralized hub. This is why it is expected that the small cell backhaul will have a form of a daisy chain or ring topologies, where the capacities will be aggregated from a number of small cells. These aggregated capacities, even though each cell site may only generate maybe 100 megabit per second, once you aggregate a number of small cells, you're very quickly reaching the multiple hundreds of megabits and even gigabit capacities. This magnitude of capacity in the non-line of sight technologies is not achievable, and in the other traditional microwave frequencies, if I may, it's a few hundreds of megabits is achievable, but yet the form factor doesn't allow it to be deployed in the small cell scenarios. The traditional microwave frequencies are licensed frequencies, where there are requirements and standards dictating the size of the antenna and such, which limit the size of the equipment, which make it unsuitable for the small cell deployment. This is where the 60 gigahertz or V-band has an advantage, where it both allows you to provide high capacity, supports high capacity multi-gigabit traffic, and allows us, the vendors, to design practically invisible backhaul systems to be installed at the street level deployments.
I'm glad you talked a little bit about the different deployment scenarios. I'm quite, because traditionally, as you said, point-to-point systems are deployed in tree, daisy chain, ring, or mesh configurations. Does the Siklu product have any other features that are integrated into it, or maybe it's a standalone subsystem that actually supports any or all of those different deployment scenarios?
Yes, well, the Siklu's product may be small in size, but it's very packed with feature sets and capabilities. We've integrated a full suite of networking capabilities into the box, into the unit itself, which allows just that, which allows you the deployment of point-to-point links in daisy chain, in mesh, and ring topologies without the need of any additional demarcation or other equipment. We've also integrated advanced zero-touch or seamless installation capabilities based on SON principles to simplify the installation process. Of course, it pretty much goes without saying that you need to provide synchronization capabilities as well. So we've also integrated both SyncE and 1588 capabilities into this box. So not only that we provide gigabit per second capacities in this small form factor, we also provide these networking capabilities and synchronization capabilities all in this single box. And as the TCO is one of the major enablers for the mass deployment of small cells, we do all that at a very, very low cost.
Okay. We'll come back to cost in a moment, but I'm curious, you were mentioning installation. What are some of your typical installation parameters? For example, how long does it take to install your product? And do you have any features in the product that assists with the installation process?
Yes. When we designed the Etherol 600, which is our small cell backhaul product, we had the installer in mind. And when I say an installer, I refer to non-telco expert installer, an installer that needs to come to the site very quickly, install and come out. As I mentioned, this is different than what we currently think when we install backhaul or wireless backhaul. First of all, our unit allows you to, or is designed to be installed on poles, a variety of poles. It could also be installed on the sides of the buildings, all done with a single mounting mechanism. The installer doesn't need to think too much what he needs to take with him. It gives him the flexibility to decide where to install it on site. He doesn't need to take anything special for the different installation scenarios. One of the main challenges of line-of-sight technology and 60 gigahertz V-band is line of sight technology is aligning the link. Once the installer installs the units themselves, the units need to be aligned to maximize the reception of the units of both sides of the units. We understand that the current the installers that will do the installation for the small cells, both because of the scale and magnitude of the number of small cells that will be installed, and also because these are people with less experience and less expertise in doing so, we're providing them with an auto alignment tool where they just install a tool, they put a tool in, they let the tool do its work, they can drink their coffee, come back a few minutes later, and alignment will be done automatically, will be done for themselves. Once again, limiting the expertise required by the installer and limiting the human error. The idea is that once the automatic tool does its work, that's it. You take the tool with you, and you don't need to visit the site anymore. From there on, the zero-touch commissioning principles and SON technologies allow you to do all the commissioning, the rest of the installation, commissioning, configuration of the link from a centralized location. which can be done simultaneously for a large number of units together, and they can be done and controlled by a person in a centralized location, which is more experienced and with a higher level of expertise. All in all, definitely the installation, time, and simplicity are key enablers for the small cell deployments. Our experience shows from trials that we've done, including with leading mobile operators, including Vodafone, that installation can be done in 10 to 20 minutes. You can have a link up and running and continue to the next link.
Okay, well, that's very impressive, and no doubt that's going to have a lot of impact on the cost of installation, because cost is something that's really in the forefront of operators when it comes to small cells. They're very concerned with having so many operating nodes in the field and what it's going to take to actually deploy those. Can you give us a sense of why your solution might be seen as more cost effective than others that are being put forward in the industry, and if relevant, what environment is it better suited from a cost perspective? I mean, you mentioned yourself that no one solution fits all. So clearly, you must have a particular scenario or environment in mind that you're focusing your product forward, your product for from a cost-effective perspective.
Yeah, well, Siklu, the main innovation of Siklu is that we've invested in designing and development of all silicon technology. In a sense, we've taken all silicon technologies and disciplines from the consumer electronics and transformed them to the carrier network, retaining the cost structure of consumer electronics on one hand, while ensuring the carrier-grade performance that the operators require. Obviously, in consumer electronics, the cost structure and the cost itself is one of the key elements. We've developed a single radio frequency integrated chip, which I don't know if you can see here. It's this little black module here, which integrates all the LNAs, the power amplifiers, the RF front end, the low noise amplifiers, the mixers, the filters, everything that was discrete modules onto a single silicon chip, which reduces the cost as each module cost by itself, all integrated into a silicon chip, reduces the cost. We've also developed our own modem baseband chip, which incorporates the modem, the A to D, D2A converters, and a powerful machine that controls the quality of service over the link. So not only that this allows us to achieve the optimal radio performance, it also eliminates our needs, Siklu needs, for a third-party modem, which allows us to reduce the cost even more. Another aspect which is interesting is we have designed and we have a patent on a design of antennas which are not only very small in size, they also comply to all the FCC and ETSI standard requirements, and are significantly lower cost compared to the off-the-shelf antennas that we could have bought. So all of these technologies put together result in a very low-cost product, cost-wise, but they also have some nice quote-unquote side effects, which also result in TCO reduction. It results in significantly more reliable products. So you don't need to visit the site for repairs and maintain a large stock for repairs. The power consumption is very, very low, so your power costs are greatly reduced. The small form factor also contributes to reducing your rental costs in many cases. And of course, being an all-outdoor product, there's no indoor associated costs, rental being one of them, air conditioning and cooling being another, as an example. So, as you mentioned, we realized that for small cell deployment to happen, the business case must support the mass deployment, otherwise it will just not fly. So operators are looking very closely at the TCO, and backhaul being a large part of the ecosystem, the TCO plays an important role, and the Etherol 600T is specifically designed with this in mind, offering a very attractive offering for the operators in this regard.
So you've told us, that your product is a lot easier to install than a lot of perceptions people have around E-band products. So that's going to help with the cost, and you've demonstrated to us that you're really working hard to drive down the manufacturing cost of the product. So what's the bottom line here? Where is the cost per link of E-band and V-band products converging to, and is it comparable to what we've seen for traditional Ethernet gigabit point-to-point links?
Yeah, so reaching the bottom line, as you mentioned, Siklu's Etherol 600, which is the 60 gig V-band product, costs in the area of $2,000 for a complete link, meaning two sides of the link. We do expect a significant price reduction as the quantities increase and the small cell market will take off. Once it does, the Etherol product may go down to as low as $1,000 per link, which these costs will be key enablers for the small cells deployment.
Well, that's fascinating, Shahar. So basically what you're saying is the days of the $20,000 per link E-band product are long gone, and this is a product that can really compete with all of the other conventional line of sight and now non-line of sight small cell solutions that are being put forward by the different manufacturers.
Yes, the days of a $20,000 E-band link are long gone. When Siklu came into the market with our E-band product, we released our E-band product at a price of approximately $5,000 a link. Once again, this is all a result of our all-silicon and self-designed technology and manufacturing capabilities that we did. And today, we see other vendors coming down to the Siklu's area's price range, and Siklu is further reducing its cost, as you mentioned, to the price of a traditional microwave link and even below that, yet providing the high capacity, high performance of the E-band. And as I mentioned just before, the V-band in the 60 gig frequency range, this will be even greatly reduced further.
Well, thank you very much, Shahar. I mean, it's been fantastic to hear your comments and observations. It's going to be a great report, great contribution to the Sense of Healy report, and it's been fantastic to see the actual components as well. I don't think we've had many products in this series that you can actually hold in your hand or between your fingers. So it's great to see that, have that kind of insight. Just to remind everyone, the report aims to provide an overview of the different small cell backhaul solutions available. And in the report, there will be an in-depth interview like this one from all the leading vendors who have participated in the report. The report can be downloaded from the Sense of Healy website, senseofhealyconsulting.com. Well, with that, I'd like to thank Shahar Peleg, Director of Product Management at Siklu, one more time, and wish everyone a good day. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Lance.